and this is a wholly different beast. Oh my gosh! Hey crew, I've got the keys to these Cadillac CT5 oh this is rhyming so well, Blackwings. Only there's a bit of a difference between these two cars. See, one of them makes the factory 668 horsepower, while the other one makes 1,000 horsepower and has been tuned by Hennessey in Texas. Visually, it's going to be difficult to discern the differences between the two. I mean, obviously this one has a Hennessey script up on the windshield, but apart from that, it just comes down to this badge on the driver and front passenger door that says H1000 and this Hennessey script on the trunk lid. This one in wave blue metallic with the bronze tech wheels is the only other color combination I was even considering apart from my electric blue car with the graphite wheels. And I do really love the look of these bronze techs, but I'm so glad that I chose the graphite with my color because this would have looked a little too Subaru WRX-y. Both of these cars do have the red painted carbon ceramic brakes, so that means that the stopping performance is going to be the same between the two cars, and that's also why you get the red painted key fobs for both cars. I'm still happy with the look of my electric blue car, and both of them do have both carbon fiber 1 and 2 packages, giving us this carbon fiber accent in the grille, the carbon fiber of the front splitter, of the side sills, rear deck lid spoiler, and diffuser. Do you prefer the wave blue metallic on bronze tech of the Hennessey or the electric blue on graphite of my car? Let me know in the comments, and let's check out the interiors. Much like the exteriors, the interiors of these two cars are going to be very similar. It just comes down to specifications. So I chose not to equip a sunroof for my CT5V Blackwing because I wanted to maximize the headroom in case I needed to put on a helmet for track duty, and I wanted to lower the center of gravity. I also equipped the semi-aniline leather buckets with the carbon fiber backing. That looks so good to me. Love that. And I also equipped red seatbelts. Furthermore, I chose suede wrapping for the steering wheel and gear shift lever. And the last difference is that mine is a 120th anniversary edition. So in the 120 years of Cadillac, they equipped me with a 2010 edition plaque here on the tread plates and a special 3D printed medallion on the gear shift lever. Otherwise, the two cars are going to be the same. They're both going to have leather up top here. We're going to have these carbon fiber accents, suede wrapping, leather padding for your armrest, an AKG sound system. And, as we'll see, not enough headroom at the rear seats. I'll show you some B-roll of this. And I've been magically transported into the back of the Hennessey model where we have suede backing for these chairs, these premium carpeted floor mats. Ooh, that is very nice. And the dual sunroof system. They also chose red seat belts. Go figure. Love the door closed stud on both cars. Looking at the front seats, you can see the quilted pattern is different on these chairs versus mine, and I prefer mine if I'm being honest. And we've got the leather wrapping for the steering wheel and gear shift lever, and the 3D printed medallion is different. Once again, I prefer mine. We put the car in accessory mode. It's going to turn on the digital gauge cluster and the 10-inch touchscreen infotainment system. That is really nice and quick. I do love that about these cars, and it does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Below that is a wireless charging pad. There's more carbon fiber here, and then in the leather-topped console, we've got not much storage space, 2 USB ports, 1A, 1C, and a DC outlet. Didn't show you this, but in the back seats, you only get 1 USB-C port. The rear seats are not heated, the front seats are heated and ventilated, and they don't get a third zone of climate, which is odd in a $100,000 vehicle. Both cars also have the parking package, giving us a digital rear view mirror, which is helpful because there is a blind spot at that seat pillar. You do get blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic, of course, but this just helps. Now we hop back into my Blackwing to fire it up. What a lovely V8 greeting. Oh, and speaking of greetings, hello cabin crew, thank you for joining me for this drive comparison of my Cadillac CT5 Blackwing and that Hennessey CT5 Blackwing. We are going to start off in the Tour setting, which as we can see here means the engine sound is pretty low, engine shift is pretty low, and everything is in maximum comfort or at ease mode. Now, to go into reverse, all the way over and up with the gear selector, and that brings up a super high resolution camera. You've got a nice backup view. You can also switch into a wide angle front view. You've got overhead rear shots, overhead front shots. You've got wheel views. All of these being so useful when you're maneuvering in and out of tight spaces, including parking garages. And this is the digital rearview mirror that I promised you. Let's scoot on out of here. Ooh, I'm going the wrong direction. I want to do a turning radius test. But hello, Hennessey Blackwing. You look good from here. Into first gear. And now, let me demonstrate how terrible my turning radius is. And as I do so, let's bring back up the camera. So wheel cranked. And you take over an entire parking lot just to turn around your vehicle. Now for the turn signal sound. Highly typical, traditional turn signal sound. I don't mind that. The world famous horn test with the world's most sensitive horn. That is also traditional. What's not traditional is how effortless it is to sound off the horn. Now on to the powertrain. Under the hood, we have a 6.2 liter supercharged V8. GM calls it its LT4 motor. It's also seen in the Chevy Camaro ZL1. And in the factory output, we're looking at 668 horsepower and 659 pound-feet of torque. That is routed through your choice of a 6-speed manual, as we have in both cars, or a 10-speed automatic to the rear tires only. I love the way this car drives, just easing around town. The brakes are so easy to adjust, come up to a smooth stop. The carbon ceramics aren't squealing at all at you, and the throttle response here in Tour Drive mode is so very gentle. And it being a supercharged V8 motor, it's a very linear power curve. In the Tour setting, the exhaust note is quite mellow. You can discern the sultry V8 noise in the background, but it is not at all overpowering. And the ride quality from these magnetic ride control adaptive dampers is just divine. They absorb the punishment of the road, so your back and spine don't need to. The seats are wonderful as well. The padding isn't ultra plush, but the shape of the seats with these adjusting side bolsters and all the tilt and telescope of the steering wheel mean I'm really at ease in the driver's seat. And as we creep up to speed, we'll listen for the NVH level. Which is so nice and modest. You really live in that Cadillac vibe of ride comfort and cabin quiet. Gently speak with your fellow passengers. No need to raise your voice. This is such a fantastic daily. This is part of the reason why I had to choose this car, because the performance is so great, and I would say it's right there on par with the other best driving sedan, the M3 CS. But the around town comfort is just next level here. And I have to spend a sec praising this Tremec 6-speed manual. It's so easy to drive. The clutch engagement and release point is clear and forgiving. The throws are short and well defined as you notch into each new gear. Honestly, a beginner could drive this transmission without much issue at all. And with the rev match function, You don't even have to blip the throttle yourself each time you want to downshift. You just let it do it for you. But now it's time to turn our attention to the performance of the Blackwing. So I'm going to hit the V button here. That's going to enhance my settings as we see engine sound, traction management, engine response, braking feel, and steering heft. As I downshift, actually I'm going to turn off rev match for this, do it myself, and pour in. The ease at which the Blackwing picks up speed just never gets old for me. And it's so velvety smooth in the way it gets to those crazy speeds. I want to do a no lift shift here, so taking it down into second, I'm going to keep my foot pinned while shifting gears. And waste no time. Oh, manuals are slower than automatics. Yeah, all right, so fractionally slower, but with the no lift shift function, you get to keep that engagement of rowing your own gears while shortening up the shift time a lot. Oh, and it's so stable at speed as well. Just feels incredibly planted. While the steering is ideally boosted for feel and feedback. So should you find yourself on a good curvy road, you'll be more than pleased with the dance partner the Blackwing becomes. And man, does this car dance! The magnetic ride control dampers now flatten you through curves. The eLSD at the back end gets the power down like no other rear drive sedan I've ever experienced. You give so little up to an all-wheel drive sedan here that you just don't miss it. And if you do find yourself overstepping the bounds of this car, then the traction control system intervenes so imperceptibly that you feel like a hero. This is the other major reason I bought this car, because it can completely transform into a terror on curvy roads. There are very, very few cars that would lose a Blackwing into the supercar category. I'm serious. And things like the Tremec manual, which was so easy to drive a moment ago around town, has become an outright pleasure to operate. But let's see how well I can work it in a 0 to 60 application. For that real-world test, I've got my race box set up to record, and the performance traction management system is in Sport, which enables launch control, meaning I can hold my foot in on the clutch while pinning the throttle, and it'll hold revs above 2,000 RPM. Then I get off the clutch. So here we go. All right, some struggle for traction, a no lift shift down, and we're at 60 in 4.14 seconds. Nice. Now it's about time to switch over to the Hennessey H1000 Blackwing. But before we do that, I want to take a peek at our trip computer and see that over the last 43 miles, we've averaged an even 10 miles per gallon. We're gonna have to compare that to the Hennessey. All right, we're in the Hennessey H1000 driver seat, so let me fire this up. Yeah, that's quite a different experience, I would say. Hello, cabin crew from this driver's seat. And let's first talk about the idle in the Hennessey H1000, because with the upgraded cams in this car, I'm moving around quite a bit more. Look at the movement in the seat. Look at the needle bopping on the idle. This now feels like a proper muscle car before I do anything with the throttle. Parking brake is off, heading into first gear, and I will spare you another terrible turning radius test. But I do want to see about this horn. I'm curious, do all Blackwings have as sensitive horn as mine? It's a small difference, but I did actually need to press harder on the wheel to get the horn to sound. Interesting. Now, it's worth mentioning that I am going to start in the same tour drive mode so that all is equal as I evaluate the around town driving dynamics. How did Hennessey arrive at 1,000 horsepower from this LT4 motor? A whole lot of work. Thankfully, they left the forge internal block alone, but they changed just about everything else. You get upgraded headers and cylinder heads, upgraded lifters and push rods, intake and exhaust valves. You get better heat exchangers and the cams that I mentioned. Oh, and then they turn their attention to the supercharger. Hennessey's own high-flow supercharger is here with its own unique engine control unit and fuel management system. The result is 332 more horsepower and 307 more pound-feet of torque than my Blackwing. Oh, and the torque figure, just in case you're curious, 966 pound-feet if you want to look at a total number. Oh my gosh. And yet, just driving it casually around town in tour, this is so very similar to my car. The throttle response maybe a little bit sharper, but still a very agreeable pace as you build up here. It's not terrifying to drive at all. Now the noise, that's a little bit different. In tour drive mode, my car makes nowhere near the same amount of theater as this one does. But I mean, if you want more of a proper muscle car experience, the Hennessey H1000 is bringing it all the time. I can see why internally Hennessey calls this the four-door Exorcist, because their Exorcist model is the Camaro that they make into 1,000 horsepower. This feels very similar to that car, but with the magnetic ride control smoothness that I know and love from my regular Blackwing. And as we take up the speed here to a cruising altitude, and as I back off the throttle a little bit, let's listen for the NVH level. Okay, so we got a little more lifter noise and exhaust burble, rumble I should say, than in my car. But it's actually pretty sedate. I'm surprised. Because, you know, when you're on throttle, ooh, you hear that noise. That's the fuel pump right there. My car doesn't make that noise. When you're on throttle, you do hear those lifters more. And if you downshift, oh, you just hear this thunder, this meatiness that my car kind of lacks. Now, there is one noise I was hoping to hear more of in this H1000 compared to my car, and that's supercharger whine. Yet, actually you hear less of it in the H1000 because of that thunderous exhaust. I wish, if I'm going to put this on a wish list for Hennessey, I wish they could make an aftermarket cold air intake, because we're still using the factory unit and it's still just not eliciting enough whine. But there's more of everything else. So I'm gonna go to V mode now, and we'll see how that's been changed up here with suspension still in the softest mode, but engine sound and engine response and braking feel dialed up to maximum. Let's go for it. I'm scared. Foot to the floor. Oh! I know my car so well. I know what it feels like to floor it in my car. And this is a wholly different beast. gosh! If not for the performance traction management system, we would have been doing a solid burnout in second gear all the way into third. Oh, what a difference! Oh, it sounds good. Waiting, pinning it. What production car outside of the hypercar realm is going to keep up in a mid-range pull with this? I can't think of anything. Holy cow! King of cows. The monster cow. Oh, power feels good. I like power. Power's nice. Especially with this Alpha platform that can handle it clearly. And these Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. 305 section of the back are taking it just fine. I love it. Now what about canyon duty? Okay, so the corner exits are crazier. But there's still that feeling of stability and confidence that I love from this car. Oh my goodness. Thankfully, the carbon ceramic brakes are up to task. They're great in my car. They're strong enough here too to scrub that speed. Because there is a lot of it. Just listen to that violent symphony banging off the canyon walls. I really didn't think my car could get any better. But Hennessey had a different idea. Power is overwhelming. Oh yeah, I said I didn't think anything but a supercar could keep up. Now even supercars would have a tough time in the straights. They could only make it up in the corners, and only just barely, because the Blackwing dynamics are faultless for a sedan. But now it's time to get some data to compare. So I'm staring at the same stretch of road that I just did a real world 0 to 60 in my Blackwing. I've got my race box set up once more, all the same drive settings, holding in the clutch, going into first gear, hitting the throttle, holding the revs, letting go. The traction management system, I could feel it. 4.5 seconds to 60. It was just eking out the power ever so slowly to not be overwhelmed. So yes, 4.5 seconds is technically 0.4 of a second slower to 60 than my stock Blackwing. And that really just comes down to road adhesion. If you put on maybe a set of Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s or even more aggressive track rubber, then you'd be able to get the power down better and get to 60, Hennessey says, in as quick as under 3 seconds, like 2.6 seconds to 60. And that, I can't even imagine in a rear drive car. That would be crazy. But of course, if grip and acceleration aren't your main objective, there are always burnouts. Okay, before I get into the verdict on the Hennessey H1000, let's take a peek at the fuel economy. 8.2 miles per gallon over, largely the same distance and the same activities. So a 2 mile per gallon hit for another 332 horsepower. You have to decide whether that's worth it. But of course, it's not just at the pump where you'll be paying more, it's just to get in the door with the H1000. This package costs $55,000, taking what is effectively a $100,000 vehicle and turning it into a 150 grand proposition. If that's too steep for you, Hennessey also offers an H850 package, which, as the name suggests, makes 850 horsepower for around $34,000. Whether that premium is worth it really just depends on you. Did you have to stretch to afford the Blackwing, or did you have a lot left over that you could spend on a package that is really going to transform how this car drives, both around town and in a performance environment? Because around town, the cam and the idle and the noise, it really changes some of the character of this car, which is so very subtle that I would say, you know, if my car wasn't painted in bright electric blue, would really be a sleeper. And this car too, it's not visually standout, except I'd maybe strip off the Hennessey badge on the windshield. But if you pull up next to it and you roll down your window and you just listen to that idle and you see the cam rocking the vehicle, you're gonna know something's up. So around town, it's a little different, but really, when you take this to the right road, it enhances the driving experience so much more, because this platform is so solid. This Alpha platform can handle this power. This Tremec 6-speed manual can handle the power. The carbon ceramic brakes can manage the slowing. So you just give it more, and the Blackwing gives you more pleasure as a driver. Now I'm gonna toss it to you. You tell me, is this worth this? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this POV drive comparison of a stock Blackwing, my own, versus the Hennessey H1000. If you did enjoy the video, please like, comment, and share it. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell to get notified. And my goodness, and I will see you again next time.